The day my face appeared on the cover of FORBES Magazine with the headline, 25-year-old sells app for $50 million, my father called me for the first time in 7 years to tell me he always knew I'd be successful. The same man who told me I was too stupid to graduate high school. My name is David Martinez. I'm 26 years old, and this is the story of how my family spent 18 years calling me an idiot, and how I proved them wrong in the most satisfying way possible. Let me start at the beginning, because you need to understand what it's like to grow up being called stupid by the people who are supposed to love you. So I was born in Phoenix, Arizona in 1998, middle child. My older brother Ryan was the golden child, straight A's, captain of the basketball team, full scholarship to Arizona State University. My younger sister Emma was the princess, talented artist, won every school competition, teachers loved her. Then there was me, David, the stupid one. It started in second grade when I couldn't read as fast as other kids. The letters jumped around on the page, switched places, made no sense. I'd sound out a word 10 times and still get it wrong. My teacher, Mrs. Robertson, called my parents in for a conference. David is falling behind, she told them. I was sitting right there, 7 years old, hearing this. He may have a learning disability. I recommend testing. My father, Robert Martinez, a successful insurance agent who prided himself on his intelligence, looked at me with disgust. There's nothing wrong with him, Dad said firmly. He's just lazy. He needs to try harder. Mom, Maria, nodded in agreement. Maybe he's just not as naturally smart as Ryan. They never got me tested. Instead, they got me a tutor. Mrs. Chen came twice a week, tried to help me read. But nobody understood why the letters wouldn't stay still. Why can't you just focus? The tutor asked, frustrated. I was focusing. The words just wouldn't cooperate. By fourth grade, my family had labeled me the stupid kid. Ryan got another A in English, Dad would announce at dinner. Emma won the art contest. And David got a C- in spelling. The way he said my name, like it tasted bad. I'm trying, I'd say quietly. Try harder, Dad would snap. Your brother doesn't make excuses. Middle school was worse. Pre-algebra destroyed me. Not because I couldn't understand math. I actually loved math when it was just numbers. But word problems? Disaster. I'd read the same problem 15 times and still not understand what it was asking. My family's comments got meaner. David, did you fail another test? Emma would ask at age 10, already more accomplished than me. I got a D, I'd mumble. That's basically failing, Ryan would add, not looking up from his phone. How are you this bad at school? Dad was the worst. Every report card was a lecture. Ryan's applying to college with a 4.0 GPA, Dad said when I was 14, holding my report card like it was contaminated. You have a 1.8. Do you understand how embarrassing this is? People ask me about my kids, and I have to explain that 2 of them are gifted and 1 is struggling. He wouldn't even say stupid to my face. But I heard it in his tone. Mom tried to be nicer, but she'd given up on me. David's just not academically inclined, she'd tell relatives. He'll probably do trade work or something, nothing wrong with that. The way she said it, there was everything wrong with that. High school was my breaking point. I was 15, sophomore year, drowning in every class. English literature was impossible. I couldn't read the books fast enough. History meant reading textbooks that scrambled in my vision. Science required reading lab instructions I couldn't parse. I spent hours on homework that took other kids 30 minutes. I stay up until 2 a.m. trying to finish reading assignments, only to fail the quiz anyway because I'd misread half the questions. My guidance counselor, Mr. Phillips, called me to his office junior year. David, I'm concerned about your grades, he said. Have you thought about what you want to do after graduation? I don't know, I admitted. Have you considered vocational school, learning a trade? You're clearly struggling with academic work. Even the school had given up on me. At home that night, I made the mistake of mentioning it. Mr. Phillips thinks I should go to a vocational school, I said at dinner. Ryan laughed. Vocational school? That's for kids who can't cut it in a real college. It's not for everyone, Dad said, but his tone agreed with Ryan. But maybe it's the right path for you, David. You're not exactly college material. Emma, now 13 and already taking AP classes, added, At least you'd learn something useful. Better than failing out of community college. Mom just looked sad, like I was a disappointment she'd learned to accept. I went to my room, closed the door, and cried. I was 17 years old, and my family had spent my entire life telling me I was stupid. I was starting to believe them. But then something happened that changed everything. I'd always been interested in computers, not for school. I couldn't read the textbooks, but I loved taking things apart, figuring out how they worked. I'd been messing around with an old laptop, watching YouTube videos about programming. The videos didn't require fast reading. I could pause, rewind, watch the actual code being written. And something clicked. Programming made sense. The logic, the structure, the way problems had clear solutions. I started teaching myself Python, then JavaScript, then C++. For the first time in my life, I was good at something. I spent every free moment coding. After school, instead of struggling with homework I'd fail anyway, I'd write programs. Little games at first, then more complex stuff. My family didn't notice. They'd written me off. Senior year, I made a decision. I was failing most of my classes anyway. I was on track to not graduate, so I dropped out. The day I told my parents, Dad exploded. "You're dropping out?" he shouted. "Do you understand how this reflects on me? On this family?" "I'm not learning anything there," I said. "I'm just failing." "Because you don't try," Dad yelled. "You're lazy and stupid, and now you're a quitter too," Mom cried. "David, what are you going to do? You can't even graduate high school." Ryan, home from college for Thanksgiving, shook his head. "Dude, you're throwing your life away. You'll end up working minimum wage forever." Emma just looked at me with pity, like I was hopeless. "I'm going to teach myself computer programming," I said. Dad laughed, actually laughed. "Computer programming? You can't even pass basic math. You think you can program computers?" "Yeah," I said. "I do." "You're delusional," Dad said. "You know what? Fine. Drop out. Move out too. If you're not going to finish school, you're not living under my roof." I was 17. He kicked me out. I moved in with my friend Marcus's family. His mom, Mrs. Johnson, was a kind woman who'd always been nice to me. "You can stay in our basement," she told me, "but you have to do something productive, school or work, no freeloading." "I'm going to learn programming," I told her, "and I'm going to be really good at it." She smiled. "Then get to work." For the next 3 years, I lived in that basement and coded 18 hours a day. I got my GED at 18, studied for 2 weeks, and passed easily when the pressure was off and I could learn at my own pace. Turned out I wasn't stupid at all. I just learned differently. At 19, I discovered I had dyslexia through a free online screening test. Severe dyslexia. Everything suddenly made sense. The reading struggles, the letter switching, the way I could understand concepts but couldn't process written instructions. I wasn't stupid. My brain just worked differently. I cried when I got that diagnosis. Years of being called dumb. And there was a real, documented reason I struggled with reading, but my family never cared enough to test me. That diagnosis fueled me. I worked harder. At 20, I started building an app. It was a language learning platform that used visual and audio methods instead of reading-heavy instruction, designed for people like me, people who learn differently. I called it Neurodive. The tagline, Learning Rewired. I built it alone in that basement, taught myself UI designs, user experience, database architecture, everything. The app used AI to adapt to each user's learning style. At 21, I launched it, free at first, just to get users. It took off slowly, then faster, then explosively. People loved it. Students with dyslexia, adults learning new languages, anyone who struggled with traditional learning methods. At 22, Neurodive had 2 million users. I started charging $5 per month for premium features. Revenue poured in. Tech blogs noticed. Revolutionary language app built by self-taught programmer. At 23, venture capitalists started calling. I took a $5 million Series O dare round to expand. At 24, Neurodive had 20 million users worldwide. Revenue hit $50 million a year. Tech companies wanted to buy it. Google offered $30 million. I said no. Facebook offered $40 million. Still no. Then Microsoft offered $15 million. I was 25 years old. I said yes. The deal closed in November 2023. $50 million. After taxes and sharing equity with key employees, I personally walked away with $32 million. Forbes wanted to do a story. 25-year-old dyslexic dropout sells app for $50 million. The interview was in December. The magazine came out in January 2024. My face on the cover, standing in front of code on a screen. Headline, "The Genius They Called Stupid, How David Martinez Turned Learning Disability into $50 Million Success." The article detailed everything. My struggle with dyslexia, my family calling me stupid, dropping out, living in a basement, building an app that changed lives. It went viral, millions of views online. I did interview after interview. Good Morning America, TechCrunch, podcasts, everything. And then my family called. First was Emma, 21 now, still in college. "David, oh my God, I saw the Forbes cover. This is amazing." I hadn't heard from her in 6 years. "Thanks, Emma. We should celebrate. Come to dinner. Everyone's so proud of you." "Are they?" I asked. "Of course, we always knew you were special." I almost laughed. "Did you?" "David, come on, water under the bridge. Let's celebrate your success." "I'll think about it," I said and hung up. Next was Ryan, 28, and working a corporate job he hated, still living in Arizona. "Little bro, saw you on Forbes. That's incredible, man. $50 million. "Yep." "Listen, I'm actually thinking about career changes. I'd love to talk to you about opportunities in tech. Maybe I could work for you. Family discount on the salary?" He laughed. "I sold the company, Ryan. I don't have employees anymore." Right, but still, with your connections... Hey, could you invest in something I'm working on? It's a great idea. I just need capital." "I'll think about it," I said and hung up. Then Mom called. She cried immediately. "David, Miko, I'm so proud of you. I always believed in you." "Did you, Mom?" "Of course. You just needed to find your path. I told everyone you were special." "You told everyone I wasn't academically inclined," I said. "You told relatives I'd probably do trade work. I didn't mean it like that." "Yes, you did. David, please, come home. Let's be a family again." "We were never a family, Mom. I was the stupid kid you tolerated." I hung up. Finally, Dad called. The man who kicked me out at 17. "David, I saw the magazine." "Hi, Dad. That's quite an accomplishment. $50 million. "Thanks." I wanted to say, "I always knew you had potential. You just needed the right motivation. Sometimes tough love works, you know? I pushed you hard because I believed in you." My hands were shaking. "You pushed me hard?" "Yes. I knew you could succeed if you just applied yourself." "Dad, you called me stupid. You said I'd never amount to anything. You kicked me out when I was 17 because I dropped out of high school. I was teaching you responsibility." "You were embarrassed of me," I interrupted. "You told people 2 of your kids were gifted, and 1 was struggling. You couldn't even say my name without disgust in your voice." Silence. "I was hard on you because you thought I was an idiot. And now I'm rich and successful, and suddenly you believed in me all along?" I felt tears on my face. "You know what the worst part is? I spent 18 years thinking you were right, that I was stupid, that I'd never be anything." "David?" "I have dyslexia, Dad. Severe dyslexia. That's why I couldn't read well, why I struggled in school. If you'd gotten me tested like my second-grade teacher suggested, I could have gotten help. But you said I was lazy. You said I needed to try harder. You made my childhood hell because you couldn't be bothered to help me. We didn't know. You didn't care to know. There's a difference." More silence. "What do you want from me, David?" "Nothing," I said. "I wanted you to love me when I was struggling. You didn't. I don't need it now that I'm successful." "So that's it? You're cutting us off." "You cut me off when I was 17, I said. I'm just making it permanent." I hung up, blocked all their numbers. Mrs. Johnson, Marcus's mom who let me live in her basement, is the one I bought a house for. Fully paid, $600,000 house in Scottsdale. She cried when I gave her the keys. "You didn't have to do this," she said. "You believed in me when no one else did," I told her. "You let me stay when my family kicked me out. You're more family than they ever were." Marcus works with me now on my new ventures. I'm funding 3 startups, all focused on educational technologies for neurodiverse learners. I'm 26 now. I live in a beautiful house in Austin, Texas. I'm funding dyslexia research. I've started a scholarship program for dropout kids who want to learn programming. And I've never spoken to my biological family again. Here's what I learned, and what I want every parent to understand. If your child is struggling in school, falling behind other kids, or getting bad grades, your first response should never be to call them stupid or lazy. Your first response should be to ask why. Why can't they read as fast? Why do they struggle with tests? Why are they falling behind? There are dozens of reasons a child might struggle. Learning disabilities like dyslexia, ADHD, processing disorders, vision problems, hearing issues, anxiety, or simply a different learning style. But you'll never discover the real reason if you just label them as dumb and give up. My family saw my bad grades and concluded I was stupid. They never tested me, never asked deeper questions, never sought help. If they had gotten me tested in second grade, like my teacher suggested, I could have received support, accommodations, specialized teaching methods. Instead, they spent 18 years destroying my confidence because they were too proud or too lazy to investigate why I struggled. Don't be like my family. If your child is struggling, dig deeper, get them tested, find out what's really happening. Because the stupid kid might actually be brilliant. They just need someone to care enough to find out why they're struggling and help them learn in the way their brain works best. The second lesson, constantly criticizing, mocking, and demotivating a struggling child doesn't make them try harder. It destroys their self-worth and convinces them they're worthless. My family thought tough love would motivate me. Instead, it nearly broke me. Every insult, every comparison to my siblings, every disappointed look taught me that I was fundamentally defective. I spent years believing I was stupid because the people who were supposed to love me told me I was. Kids believe what their parents tell them. If you tell a child they're stupid often enough, they'll internalize it. They'll stop trying because why try when you've already been told you'll fail? Encouragement and support create resilience. Constant criticism creates defeat. My success didn't happen because of my family's tough love. It happened despite their cruelty, and only after I escaped their toxicity and found someone who believed in me. And the final truth, the people who mock your struggles the loudest are often the first to try to take credit for your success. My father spent years calling me stupid, kicked me out at 17, and then called me after seeing my Forbes cover to say he always believed in me. My siblings who mocked me suddenly wanted jobs and investments. My mother who pitied me suddenly wanted family reunions. They don't get to rewrite history. You don't get to spend years tearing someone down and then claim credit when they succeed despite you. Real support means being there during the struggle, not just showing up for the celebration. And if you weren't there when someone needed you, don't be surprised when they don't need you anymore. If this story inspired you, then hit that like button. And tell me in the comments, have you ever proved wrong those who didn't believe in you? Share your story, and if you want more inspiring stories like this, subscribe and hit that bell icon. Remember, people will try to bring you down, but you just need to believe in your dreams. See you in the next video. Until then, keep believing in yourself.